I left school at 15, you could in those days, to go and play professional football. I never took, let alone passed, a major exam apart from an end of year class exam in my life. I did all my learning in my time, on my watch, on my terms. I've now written something like 25 books. I talk for 10 hours all day with no script. I would have been considered at 15 an educational failure. There's this idea that you have to pass exams to give a measure of your intelligence is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, because not everybody. I mean, I remember now. Of course, you left school at 15, and you've achieved a massive amount. Of course, I mean, in sport, as a mainstream sports correspondent on the telly, and all the great things that you did, and all of this that you've done in the last 25 years, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that not everybody is going to be as motivated as a David Icke. So when you say that kids shouldn't be as tramlined in education, we had this debate on the last podcast we did, but when you say kids shouldn't be as tramlined by the education system as they are, a lot of kids just don't have the motivation that some have. I had it because I wanted to do this. You had it because you wanted to do all the great things that you've done. But, we are a minority. You've got to have some control, haven't you?
Hold on a second. So the next question that comes from that, if what you say is true, is why are there so many what you call unmotivated young people in the world? Why? I mean, I'll tell you one reason why. The education system, as it currently operates and as it currently delivers its information, is deeply, deeply boring to most kids. It doesn't inspire them. And when they leave school, they are, or whenever they leave their education, they are so sick of being bored day after day, and they therefore equate being bored with being educated and learning, and they just stop doing it for the rest of their lives. When really, there's a vast, amazing world beyond the myopic bounds of the postage stamp consensus version of everything, the mainstream everything, to be explored. And we should be inspiring kids, not boring them to death. What are we doing? For instance, algebra. Right? If you wanna learn algebra, because you need algebra, then learn algebra when you need to learn algebra. You've got kids who are sitting at desks. Look at this summer on incredibly hot, lovely days when they could be climbing trees, when they could be pursuing their own interests. And what are they doing? They're sitting at a desk learning algebra. What does X equal? I don't care less. You make it equal what you like, whatever makes it happy, but just leave me alone.
Yeah, but my maths teacher would have said, I hated, loathed and detested algebra, but my maths teacher would have said to me, the point of algebra is not doing those stupid sums with letters and numbers, which, a lot of people still have to do. It's to teach you methodical thought. If we're not educating kids in that way, how are they going to think?
Hold on a second. No. I tell you the thought processes that are not taught: critical thought, critical thinking, questioning everything to see if it stands up to scrutiny, instead of accepting it and not questioning it because it's come from authority, because it's come from some academic with letters after his name, because it's come from some scientist who a little way down the road will be proved to be mistaken. It's critical thinking that we need. Once people question things, once young people are encouraged to question things, they go through their life questioning things. Therefore, when a politician says something, instead of accepting it, they question it. When a scientist says something, given the history that scientists have been saying things for hundreds of years that have turned out to not to be true, they question it. This is what we need, a critically thinking, questioning population. What any system of control doesn't want is a critically thinking, questioning population. And what we have now, Howard, and it is coming in so fast every day, is critical thinking and having alternative opinions and questioning what authority tells you, becoming more and more suppressed and oppressed, and people being intimidated into not doing it.
All right, let's park it there because we've got to take some commercials right now, David. So we're going to park it. When we've done the podcast, we can run right through. We're going to take some commercials right now. And I think we need a couple of minutes anyway just to refine our thoughts about that. But the one thing, and I'm talking to my listener here now, that David Icke lovers and David Icke haters can agree on, I think, is that the man we've got on here now is a man who made a lot of people start to question and put stuff out into the mainstream, or the peripheries of the mainstream, that while you may be outraged by it and not agree with it, it made you think. Isn't that a good thing? I'm not here saying it is, because it's not my job to say it is or it's not. I'm asking you to ask that question. David Icke will be back, so will I, in just a second here on The Unexplained at Talk Radio. The Unexplained at Talk Radio, David Icke is in the middle of a big speaking tour. It's Dublin next week, but it's always somewhere else, whether it's Australia. They love him in the United States, lots of fans there. And of course here, where he packs out theatres and venues up and down the country. We talked, David, about this idea of free speech. Do you agree with me that there are some ideas and notions that don't deserve the oxygen of free speech? If you look, for example, at, and I'm sure you know him, I'm not sure what you make of him. He's been on this show a long time ago, and all he did was shout at me. But Alex Jones, the so-called conspiracy theory broadcaster, has made a string of outrageous and unsubstantiated claims that have brought him into conflict with an awful lot of people now. And some aspects of the electronic media, the modern media, the social media, are in the process of partly closing him down now for some of those things. I guess you would agree with me that there are some notions and ideas that are perhaps beyond the pale. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that Alex Jones should be turned off. That's a matter for other people. He's doing his job and people are listening to him. That's not what I'm saying. But there are some ideas perhaps that don't deserve to be heard. And here you are saying free speech, total free speech.
No, I don't agree that anything shouldn't be heard. If you, for instance, have a situation where you are urging people to burn a house down, or you're urging people to do something to do with terrorism, there are laws against that. There are laws against that incitement. There are laws against inciting violence. My point is this: once you start censoring what people can say before the point of delivery, you are by definition giving an authority the power to say what people can and cannot hear. If people have a problem with someone saying something, then argue your point, put out information to show that they're talking nonsense. But once you start saying this is not acceptable, therefore we're going to stop anyone hearing it, that is a tyranny. That is what the Nazis did when they burned the books. What we have now is digital book burning through people like Google and Facebook. Any tyranny that comes to power, be it far left, far right, or far anything, immediately it has the power to do so, wants to close down all information that exposes the truth about what it's doing and what's behind it. And therefore, if we're going to have a free society, if we're going to talk about free speech, then we have free speech, because if anyone doesn't have free speech, no one has it, because what is left is only the freedom to conform, not the freedom to speak your truth. And any sane and also mature society should be at peace with having people say what they think, whatever it is, then arguing against it, and of course having laws that say you cannot incite violence with your speech without consequence. You cannot do this, attack on this person with your speech to do them, to encourage people to do them harm. without consequence. But once you start censoring speech before the point of delivery, then you are going down a very dark road. And what we're seeing, Howard, now is what happens when you do that. Because you first of all say, you cannot incite violence, therefore we're going to stop you doing that by preventing your what you say circulating. Okay, and people then say, well, in very large numbers say, well, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, but that's only the thin end of the wedge. We've started now. And then, oh, no, you can't say that. And then you can't say that. And then you can't say that. And we've now reached a point in this process, which is always the process. Just read the methodology of Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, and you'll see that what's playing out now is actually exactly the techniques that he advocated and pursued in Nazi Germany. So we've reached the point now where you can't say this about this gender, you can't say this about this group, you can't say this about this, can't say this about that. And what's happening is they're being picked off and picked off and picked off, which is exactly, again, the process described in 1984 by George Orwell.